Hello, my dear children. Namaste and welcome to session 4 of our class 10 CBSE Biology chapter Life Processes. This is Ambika, your biology master teacher, right here on this amazing platform of Vedantu. Hope all of you are staying great and staying in good health, mentally, physically, emotionally, and in all possible manners, because as I always say, that is super duper important at this point of time. And let's continue praying and hoping that we will get over all of the hard times that we've been going through because of the pandemic that's spreading across the world. Okay, with those prayers, let's get started. I have a positive quote for you as always, and this is what I have for you today. Self-belief and hard work will always earn you success. Okay, just hard work without self-belief will not be sufficient. Just self-belief without doing any work at all to attain your goals will again definitely not do you any good. But then the combination of self-belief and hard work certainly can have a magical impact which can lead you to success. Okay, with that, let's get started. There are a few things I want to tell you before we start with the concepts for today. Yes, first of all, let me tell you this. We are all thoroughly excited to announce the launch of a brand new channel, which is the NCERT 11th and 12th channel on Vedantu. So stay tuned. More good news will be on the way about when, what, where, why, and all of that. You may have a lot of questions, but stay tuned. This is going to happen very soon. And now, coming to list out the problems, the major problems that most of you children face these days because of online school education. I mean, I would say education and all other kinds of training these days are typically happening in an online format. Most of you have been facing these problems such as unsolved doubts, improper access to notes or not having proper access to good notes, tests and assignments happening systematically, competitive exam preparation, choice of schedule, choice of language, and a lot more. But then the good news is that we have got all your problems solved right here at Vedantu. And in addition, we've got a lot of amazing bonuses, the chief bonuses of which are these unlimited live classes, all micro courses and crash courses, performance reports, personalized attention, all exclusively for you on the Vedantu platform. So children, all you have to do is just visit vdnt.in/ytpro to understand more about these courses and how they work and about more details. But yes, this doesn't stop here. Let me brief you a little bit about how you can go about understanding more about this. Now first, you go to this link and pick your grade. Okay, so for you guys watching me right now, I'm assuming it's going to be class 10 in this list. So class 10, and then you have to select your target. So for you guys, I'm guessing you're all CBSE children. So it's going to be CBSE 2021. ICSE, Maharashtra board, all of that. If you are still attending my session right now, please go ahead and click the option accordingly. Okay, so choose your grade and then choose your board and then check out all the details. I think many of them I have already told you about the basic features of these courses, but in addition to them, there are a lot more which are listed out there. We call them the pro subscription courses. And what do? All of these are included in the pro subscription courses. And all you have to do is, once you reach here, click on the button Get Subscription. Now comes the big question about the pricing, right? So let me tell you a little more about that as well. The three major plans that we have, which are for 1 month, 3 months and 6 months plan for pro subscription courses. In the 1 month plan, you get unlimited access to all of the features that I have listed out, in addition to many more for 1 full month. Okay. And normally that would have cost you 2,699, but then application of the code AMBPRO is going to fetch you discounts and going to reduce the price to 2,294.15. This is going to be for 1 month. And then if you want to subscribe for 3 months of pro subscription courses, pro light courses, go ahead and check out the details. The amount payable would be 6,999 normally, but then application of the same code AMBPRO would fetch you a discount and the amount reduces to 5,949.15. Without application of the coupon code, you can still go ahead, but then you end up paying more than what you could possibly avail using the coupon code. Okay, that is why I have given you the coupon code also. And then for 6 months, if you would like to subscribe, normally the amount payable is 11,499, but application of the same coupon code AMBPRO reduces it to 9,774.15. Okay, children, so 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, check out all the features and choose your courses and what is working according to your budget, whatever is pocket friendly to you. Choose it accordingly and wisely. We are always here to support you. Okay guys, so let us move ahead, but before that, let's look at the homework question I gave you in the last session. Why is it that arteries don't have valves but veins do? Okay, so let's look at what happens. This is what you would see when there is a healthy valve. Okay, veins are provided with valves basically because pressure of the blood that flows through them is much lower than the pressure that flows through the arteries. Okay, pressure of blood that flows through the arteries, because arteries are carrying your blood from the heart away from the heart to the rest of your body. So obviously your heart is pumping it, and in that high force itself, the blood is flowing across your blood vessels to reach every single tissue and cell of your body. So naturally it's under very high pressure. There is very, very little chance of it flowing backward, which is why arteries don't have valves. But then veins are provided with valves mainly for the reason that blood flows through them under very low pressure. Okay, because it's coming from your body parts or your tissues back to the heart. There is no one single control point which can pump all that impure blood or deoxygenated blood and pump it back into your heart, unlike the other way, right? So one way, and then this way it's going to be working in a different manner. Okay, so this is what a healthy vein valve would look like. So there we go, look at that. Normally the blood would flow like this, in this manner upward, which is given in this picture. Because of the valve, it is unable to flow in the backward direction. Okay, because of insufficient blood pressure, there is quite a chance that without valves, blood could flow back into the tissues and cells where it originated in this pathway, and hence nature had a plan, which is provision of valves. Okay, so that is about a healthy vein valve. In case there is some kind of a disease in a person because of whatever condition, and the valve doesn't function properly, this is what would happen. Look at that. Bidirectional flow of blood would occur, which means this impure blood or deoxygenated blood, which is supposed to be flowing only from your cells into your heart, might end up going back into your cells and tissues also. Okay, so now let us look at another question I had asked you. What is the amount of blood in an average human body? So this is the answer. An average adult will have approximately 1.2 to 1.5 gallons or 10 units of blood in their body. Blood is approximately 10% of an adult's weight. Do remember that. Now I told you in gallons. How many liters is that? Look at that. The conversion is also put in here for you. So this is roughly going to be about 5.5 liters of blood on an average in a normal human body. It can be a little less or a little more depending on your height and weight and depending on your body's requirements. Okay, so this is the basic information that any biology student must know. So let's now look at some of the answers that came first. We have Smriti, Harish, and Unleashed the Big Dog. Okay, so good job and keep participating this way. I've been getting a lot of answers through email also. So thank you very much, children, for all of that. Do keep sending me emails and do keep putting on comments. I've been having a look at all of them, but then it's not always that I get to reply immediately to your messages and emails. But then please do have it in mind that I make it a point to read through all of them. Okay, that is pakka. Okay, so let's now move ahead and understand the concepts I have lined up for you today. Excretion in humans, hemodialysis and excretion in plants. Let's get started. Now, excretion, we know, is the process by which waste material is getting eliminated from a living organism, right? In human beings, there are four major organs of excretion. It's not just your kidneys and the excretory system that we call, which are involved in excretion. There are others also, like the lungs, skin and liver, in addition to your urinary tract. What do? What do the lungs excrete? They excrete carbon dioxide and a little bit of water through the process of respiration, whereas the skin, which is also another major organ, excretes water, salt, urea, along with a lot of other impurities from your body. And then what does your liver do? Liver is an organ, I would say, which is involved in a lot of detoxification process in your body. Okay, it is responsible for elimination of ammonia, which is a major toxic material, which if gets accumulated in your body can have a lot of very, very harmful effects. Okay, so this is about lungs, skin and the liver. And then the urinary tract, we know, eliminates wastes in the form of urine. Okay, so let us move ahead and try to understand the structure of the most important human excretory system. Yes, now we know that our excretory system is somewhere in the abdominal region. So this is it. We have a pair of kidneys, we have a pair of tubes which are called the ureters, which arise from the kidneys. There is the urinary bladder and a tube called the urethra, which opens to the exterior to eliminate the urine. Okay, so let us look at a still image of that and make more sense of it. So this is what it is. These are your kidneys. You can observe, if you have observed it, one of it is slightly at an elevated height as compared to the other one. Okay, and then from it there is a pair of ureters that arise, and then they join and open into what we call the urinary bladder, and then the bladder opens to the exterior of the body through what we call the urethra. Okay, children, this is very, very, very important to understand. Now, why do we have all those red and blue structures there? Now, remember, I told you when I started this chapter that it's very important to remember these life processes that we keep talking about are not independent of each other. They are completely connected to each other. I think in our previous 3 sessions, we've seen how nutrition, respiration and circulation are linked to each other. Now comes the link between all of these and the excretory system also. That is why you have these blood vessels which are drawn here. This, of course, the bluish one always refers to the vein. So this is marked as the renal vein, and the red blood vessel you see here is what joins into the aorta, or the aorta rather divides and branches further and branches out into what we call the renal artery, which is marked right here. This is the renal artery. Now remember, children, just like pulmonary refers to lungs in your body or anything in your respiratory system, gastro refers to anything related to your digestive system. Likewise, in the excretory system, the most commonly used prefix or the most commonly used word is renal, R-E-N-A-L. Okay, renal vein and the renal artery. Remember the rule I told you in the last session? Arteries always carry blood away from the heart and veins always carry blood towards the heart. So renal artery is that artery of your body which carries blood away from your heart. Basically, your aorta does the job of carrying it directly out of the heart, and then it branches further into different arteries. One of its branches, which is called the renal artery, supplies oxygenated blood to your kidneys, and then deoxygenated blood from your kidneys are transported by the renal vein back into the vena cava, okay, which would obviously be the inferior vena cava, back into your heart, and the circulation continues. Okay, so this is how the link between your circulatory system and excretory system work. Okay, just for your understanding. So do remember, in case you're wondering why we have marked the aorta here, it's just a branch that is coming from the aorta, not the actual biggest aorta that we mark in the heart. Okay, remember that. Very, very, very important to understand all this. Okay. Now that I have mentioned all this, let us also try to visualize how your kidneys are able to make what we call the urine. Where does it form it from? It doesn't just randomly do the job of collection of waste matter from different parts of your body. Well, it's not the kidneys that do the job, but the blood in your body that does it. The blood of your body not only carries nutrients and respiratory gases, it also carries excretory wastes from different parts of your body and brings it to the kidneys so that your kidneys can filter the blood, okay, retain whatever is needed by your body in the blood, and only those unwanted components of the blood would be eliminated by your kidneys. How does it do that? Through the mechanism of urine formation, which we are going to understand in a little bit. This is the basic context of how your excretory system functions. Okay, now look at the kidney. Look at it. We know that we have a pair of kidneys, but then let's look into one single kidney zoomed in. So one portion of the kidney, if you just zoom into it, this is what you would see. This structure that you see here is called the nephron. Okay, we will look at that also. Millions of units. In fact, there are millions of nephrons together present in both your kidneys to help in the process of excretion. So that is why it's written here. Millions of units called nephrons are said to be the filtration units of the kidneys. Okay, just like your brain is made up of what we call the neurons or the nerve cells, your kidneys are made up of single units, so single cells, which we call the nephrons. Okay, remember that neuron and nephron, totally different terms and totally different systems altogether. Nephrologist is a doctor concerned with the excretory system, the urinary system. Okay, so nephron is the basic functional unit which is magnified here. It's not that one single nephron is making up a kidney. As I have told you, there are millions of them together making up both your kidneys. Okay, so let's now try and understand the structure, the detailed structure of one single nephron. Okay, so have a look at this. Now children, just for you to understand, let me tell you, I'm going to be focusing, I want you guys to focus only on the blue portion you see in the diagram now and not the red portion. The red portion is just there to show the blood supply or the blood capillaries which are supporting the nephron. Of course, that is equally important because it's from your blood that all this filtration process and urine formation does happen. But then to understand the basic structure of a nephron, focus on the blue portion now, unless I ask you to look at the red portion. Okay, so in the basic structure of a nephron, we can divide it into two major parts. One is the Bowman's capsule. It's literally a capsule, right? And it's been named after the person who discovered it. So that's why the name Bowman's capsule. And there is also a long tail-like tubular part to it. Okay, the Bowman's capsule and the tubular part together make up the nephron. Of course, there are sub parts to the tubular part also, which I'm going to be telling you now. Following the Bowman's capsule is the part of the tubular nephron which we call the proximal convoluted tubule, or the PCT in short. Proximal because it's coming first. Okay, in the tubular part, proximal convoluted tubule is the part that comes first. Convoluted because of its appearance, the convoluted appearance. And then comes something like a hairpin bend right there. People who've traveled to hill stations and places with those, gone on road trips with those, in places where those, those hairpins, right, are there, would be able to imagine this. It's literally like a loop, which we call the loop of Henle. This loop-like or U-shaped structure is called the loop of Henle. So the proximal convoluted tubule, or the PCT, followed by the loop of Henle, followed by the distal convoluted tubule. Look at that, distal convoluted tubule, because it's the it's at a relatively longer distance from the Bowman's capsule as compared to the PCT. Okay, so proximal and distal, PCT, loop of Henle, and DCT. And then the DCT opens into a bigger or a larger tubule which is called the collecting duct. In fact, many different nephrons come and empty their contents into the collecting duct. Okay, so collecting duct is not specific to one single nephron. In one single nephron, these are the parts which we would find, which are the Bowman's capsule, PCT, loop of Henle, and the DCT. DCT of many nephrons together empty into a common collecting duct, and ultimately the collecting duct would empty the urine which the nephron has formed into inner parts of the kidneys, which move into the ureters, fill up the urinary bladder, and get eliminated through the urethra. This is how the entire system works. Okay, so now coming to the red parts that you can see, I told you it's all the blood vessels. So this is a tuft of blood capillaries, or a cluster of blood vessels or blood capillaries which are enclosed within the Bowman's capsule. Okay, that is what we call the glomerulus, the blood capillary network inside the Bowman's capsule space, which we call Bowman's space, is called glomerulus. Okay, now this blood vessel that you see here is called the afferent arteriole. What are arterioles? Remember, I told you arterioles are finer branches of arteries. Afferent arterioles come and open into the glomerulus. They are bringing in blood from your heart. Oxygenated blood is coming into through the afferent arteriole into the glomerulus. And then what happens? Actually, what happens is that in the glomerulus, between the wall of the Bowman's capsule and the glomerulus, some kind of filtration process happens. So basically your Bowman's capsule, I will explain this in a bit, but then just for you to understand, to make better sense of this entire structure, let me tell you, the Bowman's capsule acts something like a strainer. What does a strainer do? It acts like a physical filter, right? Filtering out the components which the afferent arteriole has brought into the glomerulus, and the unwanted substances which are there in the blood and your body doesn't require them pass on into the Bowman's capsule. The rest of the blood, which means with all the useful components which your body needs back, goes out of your glomerulus through the efferent arteriole. Okay, so if you notice, afferent arteriole is wider than the efferent arteriole. That is exactly what helps in maintaining the pressure with which blood gets filtered in this particular area. Okay, you will understand a lot more details of this in the class 11 chapter, excretory products and their elimination. For the time being, for your 10th standard level, do not break your head over too much. Of course, if you are interested in understanding that, do go ahead and read up about it. But I don't want to burden you too much. Understand this. I think this would suffice for you to understand, to progress with the chapter better. Okay, so that's about afferent and efferent arterioles. And then you look at the rest of it. The blood capillaries are also there and surrounding the tubular parts of your nephron, right? You can see the capillary network here, a little bit of exchange, reabsorption, secretion, all of that does happen, which you will understand in a bit. But this is the basic structure of a nephron. Once again, summarizing: Bowman's capsule, PCT, loop of Henle, DCT, and then the collecting duct. In the Bowman's capsule, what do you have? You have the tuft of blood capillaries, which we call the glomerulus, joined in by the afferent arteriole and exiting by the efferent arteriole. Okay, let us now move ahead. This is just a three-dimensional view of the nephron, the kidney and the nephron. This is where you would find the nephrons in a single kidney, and this is the tubular structure of the nephron that you can see in this zoomed in version. Okay, so let us move ahead. Now let's look at how urine is formed by all of these parts. Now, urine formation in humans happens in three major steps, namely glomerular filtration, or ultrafiltration as we call it, tubular reabsorption, and tubular secretion. Now look at the names of these processes, children. It will help you guess where exactly this is happening. Okay, glomerular filtration obviously happens in the area of the glomerulus, which means within the Bowman's capsule. Tubular reabsorption and tubular secretion happen in the tubular parts of your nephron. Okay, now have a look at this. This is basically the gist of what happens. We will understand it step by step now. Step number 1, which is ultrafiltration or glomerular filtration. Now what do you see here? This is a zoomed in version of the Bowman's capsule with the glomerulus inside it. Look at that. I told you this is the Bowman's capsule, and inside it is a space called the Bowman's space, within which is the cluster of blood capillaries called the glomerulus. Okay, afferent arteriole is bringing in blood, look at that, and then it's coming here. And remember, the step is called ultrafiltration. And remember, I told you when I explained the structure that the Bowman's capsule acts like a strainer. the strainer that we use to filter milk or filter tea when we make tea, to filter out the bigger substances and allow the smaller substances to pass through it. Okay, this is what happens in ultrafiltration, wherein Bowman's capsule acts like a strainer to filter out the blood in the glomerulus, and all the unwanted tiny particles in the blood are entering through the Bowman's capsule and going further to the tubular parts. Okay, what happens to the rest of your blood? It exits the Bowman's capsule through the efferent arteriole. Afferent comes in, efferent goes out. Okay, so that is exactly how blood would enter to provide the waste matter or the filtering substances to your Bowman's capsule. Now coming to step number 2, which we call reabsorption. What is reabsorption? First was filtration, now comes reabsorption. Well, here we also call it selective reabsorption, wherein certain substances like sodium, amino acids and glucose are reabsorbed from the filtrate back into the blood. Look at that. Through the glomerulus, some particles got filtered, and I told you it came in through this. But then that was only more of a size-wise filter that must have happened at the Bowman's capsule. But even in the filtrate that passed through the Bowman's capsule and entered the tubular parts, there must be some components in the blood which are still useful for the body. So what happens is your blood tries to reabsorb them from this filtrate. Okay, I told you the blood capillaries surround all of these parts of your all the tubular parts of your nephron. So through that, they reabsorb it. Look at that. That is why this blood capillary is here. It is all getting reabsorbed. Have a look at it carefully, children. It's getting reabsorbed. Look at it. Okay, without progressing to the end of the nephron, it goes into your blood capillary. And then where does it go? It enters into the rest of your bloodstream because your body requires it. Amino acids, sodium and glucose, among a few other substances, get reabsorbed. Where does it happen? It happens in your proximal convoluted tubule, as you can see clearly in this particular image. Okay, so this is about reabsorption. And then the last step, which is secretion. As the name indicates, it is a process by which any more additional wastes which may be present in the bloodstream get eliminated through your nephron. So how does your body achieve this? Remember those peritubular capillaries, those small blood capillaries which are surrounding your tubular parts of the nephron, right? From them, if there is any more additional waste that your body detects, which your body doesn't need anymore, what it would do is it would just eliminate it and push it into the nephron because it's in close proximity with it. This space here, do not mind it too much because obviously this is happening within your body and this is one among the millions of nephrons in your body. There is very little space between the blood capillaries and these nephrons. Okay, so do not worry too much about that. But from the peritubular capillaries, the additional wastes are secreted into your nephron, the tubular parts of your nephron, so that with the rest of the filtrate, it also gets eliminated from your body. So there we go, the major steps of urine formation, the 3 major steps and one additional step which I will be telling you now, starting with glomerular filtration, which creates a plasma-like filtrate of the blood. Remember, it happens in the glomerulus, which is inside the Bowman's space. And then that filtrate passes further down. When it reaches the PCT or the proximal convoluted tubule, your body tries to reconsider, okay, what do we need and what it does not need. So basically what it does is it reconsiders and looks into the waste, that is filtrate, that is coming through this portion once again, and then your blood suddenly detects certain things like amino acids, glucose, etc., which your body may require. It's like, oh no, wait, this person's body requires more glucose, I can't afford to eliminate it, so it reabsorbs it. Okay, so that is the role that tubular reabsorption plays, which mainly happens in the proximal convoluted tubule, removes useful solutes from the filtrate and returns them back into the blood. And then the filtrate keeps proceeding further down, and then There is one more additional step, which is tubular secretion, which is removal of additional wastes from the blood, which is added to the filtrate. I told you peritubular capillaries. Look out for any further things that can possibly be eliminated from the body and add them into the later tubular parts of the nephron. And then comes the additional step, which is called water conservation, wherein water is removed from the urine and returned into the blood. So what happens? Basically, it ends up concentrating the waste. If there is, how does it decide this? How does it decide how much water to reabsorb? Can be a big question that comes up in your mind. So what actually happens is, it all depends on how much water is there in your body at that point of time. If you are a person who always stays hydrated, like constantly by taking sips of water very often and all of that, there is quite a good chance that much of water may not be reabsorbed when urine gets formed, because your body is constantly getting hydrated. So maybe your blood is able to detect the levels in your the water levels in your body, and it decides, okay, it's fine, we can let go of this. More of water doesn't have to be reabsorbed. But then in case you are dehydrated, it tries to reabsorb a lot of as much water as possible from the urine in this one last step, and then it concentrates the wastes and eliminates what we call urine. Where does it go? I think I've already told you. It empties it into the collecting duct, the collecting tubule, and many nephrons, all the million nephrons, there are a few collecting tubules or collecting ducts which are there in your kidney, into which many nephrons empty the urine that they have formed. And the collecting ducts pour them into the inner parts of the kidney, and then from the kidney it goes into the ureter, fills up your urinary bladder, and then when it is time for you to visit the washroom, you get that particular sensation because your urinary bladder's muscles are connected with your brain, and it sends signals to your brain which ends up telling you, okay, now it's time to visit the loo, and that is when you make that quick visit. Okay, but you know what the interesting thing here is? In fact, you start getting that urge to urinate when your bladder is just a little more than half full, because it's giving you, your body is naturally designed to give you that much of extra time to ensure that you have enough time to go and visit a comfortable space where you can get the job done. So imagine, it's also amazing to think of all these tiny design plans that nature has taken care of while every animal was designed, right? Absolutely amazing. So this is basically it, the 4 major steps, 3 plus 1 additional step in urine formation. Okay, so now before we go ahead, let's have a quick check to see how much we remember. Okay, glomerulus receives blood through which of these? Okay, and your time is up. The answer is afferent arteriole. Afferent arteriole comes first, efferent arteriole leaves. Okay, then portion of nephron which looks like a U shape is, yes, and you are right. The answer is loop of Henle, the U shape, the hairpin bend in your nephron. Next one, the cluster of blood vessels in the Bowman's capsule is dash. Yes, I'm sure all of you got this right. The answer is glomerulus. Now, the thick afferent arteriole and the thin efferent arteriole help in dash, ultrafiltration, relocation, transfusion, ionic transport. Don't think too much. I've told you the answer to this, and the answer is beyond doubt ultrafiltration or glomerular filtration as we call it. So great job on that, and let us now understand another important concept, which is hemodialysis. Now, hemodialysis, you must have heard of this a lot, especially if you have elderly people in your family whose kidneys might not be functioning well enough, or even if not elderly, because of some disease or some kind of health ailments, there are certain people whose kidneys end up not functioning optimally. So what happens? The problem in your body would be that your blood is not able to filter itself. Your body is unable to eliminate its waste matter because your kidneys are not functioning well. That is when doctors appropriately advise such patients to go in for rounds of dialysis, hemodialysis as we call it. So let's look at an overview of what happens in this. Imagine this is the patient. Of course, I don't think any of these patients would end up looking so cheerful as this gentleman here. Okay, so this is just there to add beauty to this image. Anyway, let's remember that what happens is it starts with a system which can remove the blood from this patient's body. Why is this done? Think about what exactly your kidneys do for your body. It starts with collecting the blood which is coming to filter it out, right? So a system, hemodialysis acts like a system which can replicate the function of your kidneys or your nephrons. Okay, so obviously that has to start with collecting the blood from the patient's body. So the blood gets pumped, it goes on through a lot of systems, a lot of tubes. Look at that, this is the pump, and it enters what is called the dialyzer, okay, or the dialyzing bag. Okay, now inside the dialyzer, what you would see is there would be a system of tubes which are meant to replicate the tubular parts of your nephron. Okay, so what exactly does it do? Obviously, if it has to do the function of tubular parts of your nephron, all that reabsorption, secretion, everything should happen, right? But when it is inside your body, the exchange of reabsorption and secretion happens between your nephron and your peritubular capillaries. But here what do you do? Because it is happening outside the patient's body. So inside this dialyzer, there is fresh dialysate or dialyzing solution as we call it, which gets filled inside this bag or this system, and it is inside that these tubes keep moving around, and inside the tubular parts this blood of the patient keeps moving around. So, exchange of all of that, reabsorption and secretion basically happens between the patient's blood flowing inside those tubular structures and the dialyzing solution which is there inside this bag lying outside those tubular structures. Okay, so this is what happens inside the dialyzer, and all the used dialysate, as you can see, the used dialysing solution gets pumped outside and gets collected in a different system altogether. And then what happens? All of that cleansing, reabsorption, secretion, everything has been taken care of, and then the clean blood which has been filtered by the artificial kidney, we call it artificial kidney because it's performing that function, the clean blood gets pumped back into the patient's body. Okay, and this cycle continues. Okay, so it is advised, I mean, depending on the severity of the condition in the patient, doctors advise it about how frequently this process has to be done. It is said to be an expensive procedure, but there are also cases where even twice, thrice in a week, some patients have to undergo sittings of hemodialysis. Otherwise, all the wastes are going to get accumulated in their blood. So do not worry too much about the additional structures which are here. Just have a look at them and you will understand they are all there to monitor the entire process, like arterial pressure monitor, heparin pump basically here to prevent clotting of the blood while this filtration is happening. Fresh dialysate, there is a provision to pump fresh dialysate into this dialyzer, the dialyzer bag, and saline solution also, which is very, very important. And then there is venous pressure monitor, air trap and air detector. All of this together add up, and the entire system together makes up the procedure what we call hemodialysis, which is also called artificial kidney because of the job that it does. Okay, children, so it is good to be aware of this also, as it is an important concept, not just conceptually in your textbook, but otherwise in daily lives also. It's important to understand basic things like these as a responsible biology student. Okay, now let's answer a quick question. Dialysis helps in dash: controlling blood pressure, removing excess of metabolic waste in water, maintaining levels of potassium, bicarbonate and sodium, or do you think it's all of these? Functions of dialysis, what does it help in? One of these or all of these? Definitely the answer is going to be all of these, which is why we call it artificial kidney, right? Now let's quickly look at excretion in plants. Plants also excrete. It's not just animals. Well, if you think of it, in the process of photosynthesis, glucose is getting synthesized and oxygen is released as a byproduct. So we can call oxygen to be a waste product of photosynthesis. And then Carbon dioxide also, just like in the case of human beings, is a waste product of respiration. So oxygen of photosynthesis, carbon dioxide of respiration. And additionally, yes, it's important to understand this also, that photosynthesis occurs during the day, only during the day, wherein it takes in carbon dioxide and gives out oxygen. But then respiration takes place during the day and at the night, wherein oxygen is taken in and carbon dioxide is released. Okay, just there for your information. Now, water can also be a waste product which is eliminated by plants through the process of transpiration. You've learned all of these in your lower grades, right? Photosynthesis, respiration, transpiration. Three major things which eliminate oxygen, carbon dioxide, and water, respectively, from a plant body. And then resins and gums also, if you have observed, like the latex of some trees, like the rubber trees and all of that, you may have seen this, like milky white latex or resins or gums which are collected, which are also a form of waste which gets stored in the old xylem in some plants. This is also an example of excretory material in plants. So 4 major examples, and let us try answering the question. Which of the following is the excretory product of plants? Oxygen, carbon dioxide, resins, or all of these? And yes, because I have told you this just barely a couple of minutes ago, I'm sure you've answered it correctly, which is all of these. And great job, guys. And you now know excretion in humans, you know the process of hemodialysis, you also know what happens in excretion in plants. Okay, and before we sign off, here is your homework question for today. What is the capacity of urinary bladder in humans? Okay, worth understanding and worth thinking about. And additionally, I would also say, I don't want to give you as homework, but I also want you to think about how much of urine you think in a day a normal human being, an average human being would produce. Okay, and how much of blood an average human being would filter to form that much of urine. Okay, but this is your major homework question. Those are just additional add-ons which you can think about in case you are very interested. Okay, children, and remember, I told you about the pro subscription courses. Just visit vdnt.in/ytpro and apply the coupon code AMBPRO to avail the amazing discounts that we have to make them pocket friendly. The best quality content out there, pocket friendly. Okay, and thank you very much, children. Do remember to hit the like button if you have liked this session, if you have enjoyed the session. Share it. Remember to share this video with all your CBSE Class 10 friends, and remember to subscribe. Hit the subscribe button right now and the bell icon next to it in case you haven't subscribed to our amazing channel Vedantu 9 and 10 English, because every single day we will keep coming up with a lot more content just for you. Okay, and you can also reach out to me through email. Anyway, until we meet again, please do remember to take care of yourselves, take care of people around you. Stay safe, stay happy, and bye-bye.